Hello, I'm Scott Cherry. This is part 3 of a series on the truthfulness of the four Gospels, in which I continue with the remaining 11 reasons that you can have confidence in them. Number 10. The resurrection of Jesus is credible because it is the best explanation of the historical facts. More material in support of that will be forthcoming. Reason 11. If that's the case, then we should believe it on historical grounds and abandon any allegiance to point 2 from the previous video. If the resurrection reasonably occurred, it was an event of history. Then miracles are possible, and we should allow for them as such. Reason 12. If number 11 is true, that is, the resurrection of Jesus really happened, then miracles happen. And none of the other miracles reported in the Gospels should be ruled out a priori. They should be considered as any other events they report. Reason 13. Again, if number 11 is true, then Paul and the Gospel writers told the truth about it. More on how we can know the Gospel writers told the truth is forthcoming. Number 14. Again, if number 11 is true, then they also told the truth about Jesus' crucifixion, as well as his predictions of both. For example, in Matthew 16:21 and 17:9. Regardless of what other details of their accounts may seem discrepant to you. Reason 15. If number 11 and 12 are true, that is, if the gospel writers told the truth about the most important and hard to believe event, then their accounts should be granted historical credibility, or at least plausibility, on all other events and details that they report. Reason number 16. But there are other means by which to verify the gospel writers' facts. When examined for their historical accuracy, the Gospels include a great many historiogeographical details that are verifiable by the tools of historians such as Sir William Ramsay, which were often unnecessary to include if they were not true. For example, the writers include more than 30 historically confirmed people in their writings. Reason 17. There are 4 Gospels in the New Testament, not just one. This fact is both an asset and a problem to their historical believability. On one hand, they corroborate each other, such as on the occurrence of the crucifixion and the resurrection, and many other events and details. On the other hand, they do not always. Reason number 18. In comparing the 4 Gospels, there are apparent discrepancies in some of their details. The import of the details varies with respect to the primary Jesus portrait or the narrative, but they are unquestionably in the gospel texts. But wait! If the Gospels were legends made up by the Christian writers, wouldn't the church have made sure to eliminate all the discrepancies? Yes, of course they would. Reason 19. This fact presents challenges, to be sure, but it also lends itself to their historical authenticity. Why would the Christian community include 4 independent Gospels with some seemingly discrepant details? Why indeed, if the main body of content related to Jesus were not authentic and true? That is, if the portrait of Jesus in the Gospels was mere legend or theology. The answer is, they wouldn't. They would have chosen only one gospel to eliminate the apparent discrepancies between them. This points to their truthfulness. Reason 20. Considered by ancient standards, the date range of the 4 Gospels, that is AD 37 to AD 100, relative to the events they describe, that is the life of Jesus, is superior to other specimens of ancient literature, such as Homer, Plato, Herodotus. This fact alone suggests something qualitatively different about them. First, Even during a period of oral tradition, their subject, Jesus, was deemed worthy of committing to writing within only decades of his departure, within their respective lifetimes or shortly thereafter. Next, therefore, the writers wrote the Gospels during the lifetime of their contemporaries, who would collectively know the truth about their accounts of Jesus enough to hold them accountable and refute the details of their accounts, if necessary. Third, they would not have had to play the notorious telephone game. By the standards of an oral tradition culture as first century Palestine was, 5 to 65 years was hardly a challenging time span for the gospel writers to internalize, preserve, and recall the vivid details of the events and teachings of Jesus, even without notes. Fourth, even by our current standards of print culture, that time span would not be too long for many of us to clearly remember and recall indelible events and discourses from our own life experiences. Even now, you can clearly remember events and conversations from your childhood. Here's the preliminary conclusion, which we'll build upon in subsequent segments. The historical portrait of Jesus in the Gospels is true. It's not legend or myth. Thank you very much. See you next time.